Hey, Dr. Huntington here again, and it's Halloween time. So if you're looking for some motivation, some anti-candy motivation, I've got you covered here in this video. Now, I'm not at all saying that, you can never eat something sweet again, but, if you're like most people, you don't need any more sugar in your diet. Because of that, Halloween can end up being just the worst day of the year, especially for kids. So let's look at the stats. The average American eats something like 150 pounds of sugar every year. And that's a big reason why, almost 1 in 4 Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And of course, Halloween is the biggest holiday for the candy industry. In fact, all the Halloween candy sold each year, if you stuck it all together, right, and somehow balanced it on a scale, it would weigh as much as 2,000 blue whales. Right? And that's, for those of you keeping track, that's the biggest animal on the planet ever, by the way. And that's something like 600 million pounds of candy, just pouring in, onto a food supply that's already loaded with sugar. And those small pieces of candy that you secretly confiscate from your kid's Halloween sack and then eat when no one's looking, they can add up pretty quickly too. Now, did you know that the average trick-or-treater, eats 3 cups of sugar on Halloween day alone? That's 7,000 calories of candy. But the damage it does goes way beyond the, excessive calories. Here are some of the less obvious ways that sugar stresses your body. And this is what I want you to use as the motivation to avoid the sugar. When sugar arrives in your mouth, it mixes with bacteria to make acids. And, those acids attack your enamel. Each attack lasts something like 20 minutes, and that opens the door to cavities. Now next, the sugar, gets broken down in your small intestine, and absorbed into your bloodstream. Now when your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas releases the hormone insulin. And the insulin tells your cells to open up and take in sugar, which can be used as a fuel source, an energy source. But most of the sugar gets stored as a compound called glycogen. And the glycogen is stored in either your liver or muscle tissue. And any extra sugar left over, once that bucket's full, is stored as fat. Now, what's interesting is that your body interprets this wave of sugar as stressful. And so your body releases stress hormones, cortisol and epinephrine. These trigger your heart rate and your blood pressure to go up, cause you to start sweating. And by this point, your brain has released dopamine, which is a chemical in your brain that, gives you that initial pleasant feeling, the sugar high. But then the crash comes. You feel tired and irritable, and, you might get a headache. Your stress hormones are now, they're reversing gears. As they get the sugar out of your liver, and out of your muscles to bring your blood sugar back up after the crash. And usually by now you're bloated and your stomach aches a bit, but the real damage is not, how you feel. It's not even that the sugar you ate, triggered insulin, to put fat on your body. The problem is that this roller coaster of hormones, crashes your immune system, making you more susceptible to bacteria and viruses. And worse than that, if your diet is continuously putting insulin into your bloodstream, you're setting the stage for diabetes and heart disease, and some forms of cancer. Beyond that, sugar destroys the balance of your microbiome, which is the collection of good and bad bacteria in your gut. You see, one of the things that the good bacteria do is help stabilize your blood sugar. And a high sugar diet will throw that balance off, leading to a situation where you have too much bad bacteria. And this imbalance causes cravings, that roller coaster of hormones. Now, over time, you end up with systemic inflammation, damage to your gut lining, in a situation where you don't absorb nutrients properly. Now, the worst part about all of this is that, an unhealthy microbiome is directly related to compromised brain function. And this impacts mood and behavior and memory and focus, and it worsens, existing mental conditions. And so far, we're just talking about the effects of sugar. But you add to that the fact that candy is often filled with artificial sweeteners and food coloring and other chemical junk. that inevitably detracts from your health and your function, and in many cases sets the stage for some kind of disease. So this year, help the kids in your life and help the kids in the neighborhood by giving out something other than sugary candy. You can hand out things like stickers or crazy straws or markers, bubbles or key rings, and even coins or something like that. And then have your kids, if they get candy, trade in their candy for some toy that they really want, or a game, or a healthier choice, maybe dark chocolate. Throw some of that candy away and don't eat it yourself, right? If you want something sweet on Halloween, then make sure make sure you're good like the week leading up to Halloween at least, right? And then eat something other than the sugary, junky Halloween candy. Maybe a small piece of dark chocolate, or something along those lines. But whatever you decide to do, have fun, make sure the kids are safe, and if you fall off the wagon, make sure you get back on November 1st. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time.